weather from race 1 to race 2 here at Pukekohe, round 12 of the Shell Championship Series, the Boost Mobile V8 International, and the crowd has been unbelievable this weekend, being treated to a wonderful sight. And Marcus Ambrose has gone way early.
Does Marcus know something the others don't, or
Very
the
keen
other
to
way
get on
around?
with it. Crowd's giving him a big cheer. There's the green flag.
You don't get your leg slapped for that, do you, Neil?
Well, I don't know. There's been a fair bit of leg slapping going on this weekend, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. That was a bit bizarre. I don't think Marcus is really sure what happened there. Somebody in the crowd had a green T-shirt and they turned and he flinched and off he went.
He's keen to get on with it. Marcus Ambrose has not won a race, I should say, of the Shell Championship Series. He's certainly won a round and he's taken a few pole positions and fastest laps. No doubt about his speed, but he really wants to bag a race win. Could this be it at Pukekohe?
Same circumstances apply in race 2 as in race 1. Compulsory pit stop for tyres, race between laps 2 and 26. This is how they'll line up, of course, the finishing positions from race 1. Murphy, Ambrose, Skaife, Brad Jones starting from 4th. I don't think so. I think Brad's going to be a little further back than that. Ingle, Longhurst, Tander and Kelly. Some real stunning drives. Garth Tander was one of them.
Of course, Jason Richards will be starting out of 4th for Team Kiwi as a result of that 4th place finish yesterday. If you look down your Shell Helix starting grid, those yellow boxes show you where they qualified, so you get an idea of how they're performing throughout the weekend. For example, Radicic qualified 12th, finished 17th yesterday, so he'll start from 17th today.
There's Brad Jones in his correct position, a little further back in 24th, and all the way back to position 30. And Glenn Seaton, the 2 FTR Fords, starting from the final 2 positions on the grid. That's going to be tough work, Neil Crompton, from 29 and 30.
Very difficult task for those guys, but we saw a race yesterday that was turned upside down by weather, so I mean, you know, anything's possible. Russell Ingle, we're on board with him. We've got the race covered from various angles as usual, and this is going to be a beauty. Actually, a number of people got into the high 57s in the first event, and one of them that I thought actually did a great job, although it was very quiet as we now look forward from the Marcus Ambrose Percheck Falcon, who jump-started on the warm-up. I think there's a penalty involved in that. On board now with race 1 winner Greg Murphy. Some controversy surrounding that, but it was resolved in favour of the Kiwi, and you can imagine that the crowd around Pukekohe absolutely enjoying that. But one of the guys I was going to mention was Garth Tander, who quietly achieved in that first race, got into the high 57s, had a quick car, had a shocking qualifying and pretty ordinary practice, but really benefited when it counted.
And as we mentioned, his teammate too, both Valvoline cars, Jason Barguana, came from 21st to 10th, so they're gradually getting it all together.
It's going to be interesting to see Jason Richards starting from the second row of the grid, you know, because he had a fantastic drive yesterday, and I would imagine he'd be really keen to go to
the biggest moment in his career, isn't
exactly.
it? Starting in front of his home crowd alongside the back-to-back champion Mark Skaife. What a moment for the young Kiwi.
Yeah, a few team managers got raps on this young guy, only 25 years of age, but in his first V8 supercar season in a car that's certainly not state-of-the-art in terms of its technology or development. They haven't had any development in this car at all during the year. To be up 4th on the grid at this level of competition is fantastic.
Stunning in the rain, really very, very quick.
There was a test day at Calder prior to the championship round out there, and I went over the back and had a look. Clearly it wasn't the best car, but by gee, he was driving it well.
Could be a big star of the future, Jason Richards. Craig Lowndes has not had the best weekend so far, and it should be a thrilling run off the line in race 2.
Lowndes is coming from 24th. His old teammate Greg Murphy from pole, and look at the Kmart Commodore. Streak from the line. Murphy gets the best run into the turn 1 sweeper. Ambrose holds second, Skaife third. Richards was there. There's jostling going on at the back. Very important to stay out of trouble early. We saw that Holden hairpin melee in race 1. It's tight through the Boost Mobile S's, and now they get to stretch their legs up the back straight.
Nightmare at the back of the pack when you just get through turns 2, 3, 4 there. They were almost stopped. Some of them were locking up. John Faulkner had a bit of a moment going through turn 1, but just as it was with race 1, Murphy bolting and really getting on with it on cold tyres.
Hard under brakes into the Holden hairpin. You can see Marcus Ambrose moving over to cover the line on the inside for Mark Skaife. So he holds second place too. Skaife in third. So they come out of here, shot from the back of the Pertec Forge with this daunting part of the racetrack. 6 and 7. 180 kilometres an hour. Cars on the absolute limit as they come out toward the wide line. First lap across the line. Look at Murphy stretching it on the following cars. He's really on fire at Pukekohe this weekend.
Well, they've learned from yesterday, haven't they? A good first clean lap.
Yeah, well, that's nice, isn't it? Looking back from the Persec car, the bump, the big bump in the left-hander before the starfish doesn't look anywhere near as bad when you look back. I suppose it's bad when you're sitting there, of course.
On board with Russell Ingall, Mark Skaife up ahead. Skaife had a look at Marcus Ambrose coming up into the Holden hairpin on lap 1. You ride with Russell Ingall. He's ready to make a move. Skaife's got the defensive inside line. This is your race leader, Greg Murphy.
Yeah,
the track conditions changed a little too for this second race. In the earlier warm-up, a lot of people were making adjustments on the car. We were listening on the radio earlier, and people were not settled and happy with what they had yesterday. And one of the issues after the first race, which was obviously water interrupted, was that you know, you still got to work very hard to keep a left rear tyre working on the car. Simon Wills was getting very close to the back of someone on turn 7 there, really having a real scrap.
One of the Valvoline cars, and we're watching Russell Ingall and Mark Skaife. Russell Ingall, the championship has gone. He can no longer win it in 2001, and he's really starting to turn up the heat on Mark Skaife now. Top 4 are starting to bunch up. Murphy still has the advantage, though.
Murphy, Ambrose, Mark Skaife and Russell Ingall. That's your leading quartet. Opening up a bit of a gap now over Jason Richards, Todd Kelly, Garth Tander, Tony Longhurst and Stephen Johnson.
7-7 for Murphy. Fastest lap of the race so far, and 1/10 quicker than he ran yesterday. Skaife's eased out fractionally from Russell, and he's now beginning to attack Marcus, who's really the lone Ford at the top of the shop.
Pretty confident he can win this. The team are making some spring changes to the back of the car, and he's coming in very early.
Well, they're inside that window. So too is race leader Greg Murphy.
And Ambrose doing what he did yesterday, mirroring what the leader is doing. So Skaife will continue in the race lead with Ingall right behind, and these two creeping along at 40 k's. Remember,
drive through Wheels pit. Drive through Wheels pit.
Drive through Paul Wheels pit, they're saying, to get a straighter entry to line the car up.
Just down here with Greg Murphy's team. We'll see how they go on the time here. Fresh rubber going on. 7 seconds gone now. Murphy on the deck, just over 9.5 seconds.
Wow.
that's a good one.
They're very slick, aren't they? Shell Ford's come in, Ambrose is still in there, so...
And remember,
out quicker.
The big question here is whether he can get back out without dropping a lap. It's very, very marginal here. It's 40 seconds from control line to control line at 40 kilometres an hour, plus deceleration, acceleration, and the pit stop.
We're just looking out of the front of Greg Murphy's car. He's going to get out in front, so he hasn't gone down a lap. Ambrose has got out as well.
And it was Stephen Johnson who went in also in the Shell Helix Ford. Whilst Ambrose was the top place Ford, Johnson was further back in 10th. He has completed his pit stop as well.
Mark Skaife is now your race leader with Russell Ingall breathing down his neck. Todd Kelly should still be in third.
They were very efficient stops. Both those teams did a great job then. They really got their guys out. Virtually no difference. And they were well inside any possible threat from Skaife, who was coming around. As we have a look at Todd Kelly.
I was going to say he should have been in third place, but he's come in for the pits as well. It's interesting. Oh,
Bernard.
Here.
Oh, dear me.
Hasn't been a happy weekend for the Haviland Ford, and David Bernard has stopped. Where's that? It's coming in.
Coming into the pit lane.
And he's just short.
No point driving it on the starter motor, is there? Can you just push me or what from the pit bay, from the first pit bay?
It's obviously cut out.
There's nothing we can do. The only way you can get here is
That sounds like, guys, that he radioed in a few moments ago, just before the transmission you're currently hearing, to say that there is a miss that has developed in the car. They're not sure what the cause is right now.
It's the miss has developed into a nothing engine by the seams of it.
So whilst one of the Stone Brothers Fords is right in contention for this race, the second one is going nowhere. David Bernard.
It's going to be interesting.
From race 2.
Here's your race leader, Mark Skaife. Now, I'm wondering, with the pressure of the championship off, if Mark Skaife and the Holden Racing team are now going to try a different strategy. They've been pretty much boxed in this year because they've been in championship contention. They couldn't really roll the dice and take a few gambles on pit strategy. I'm just wondering now, with the weight of the championship off his shoulders, whether they'll try and maybe get the most out of 2 sets of tyres.
Start the engine. Fire the run.
Larry Perkins, the first of the Castrol Holdens to come in.
Oh, what's going on? Oh, the bonnet's come undone.
Yeah, no, he's got damage on the front left
front
corner.
left, yeah.
So they're just race taping that back.
Crew working feverishly with the race tape. They're pretty sure that everything's buttoned in there. Larry gets back into the action.
That will have hurt him a lot.
Yeah, just looking at the strategy being played in here by Skaife, Neil. I mean, in an ideal world, you try and maximise your tyre sets, try and get, say, 15 laps out of each one. And I just wonder if he's going to try and run the gauntlet of the safety car and try and do that.
Well, the useful thing about today is they've now got some data as we look here at Richards and Forbes, and you've got Tander on the outside, Wheel in behind. But that may be a strategy that he employs, and they'll have taken very careful note of yesterday's wear rates, but remember also that it was water interrupted. So.
And you don't want a safety car or you're going to end up looking pretty shabby.
That's helped Jason Richards a bit because Tander was right up behind him and Forbes isn't getting out of the way for Tander. So
on board. On board with Radicic.
Radicic wears. Looks like a dustbin, doesn't it?
Sixth place for the Shell Ford. They've been doing a lot of work overnight to try and get these cars working better over the bumps, but they've been very unhappy all weekend.
Just by the way, you could hear Larry when he was leaving the pits there before, obviously clearly unhappy about the fact that the guys took time to tape up whatever the damage was, but obviously when you're outside the car you can assess what it may be. Morris has got a problem with the left rear on this thing. It's just having a huge smoke at the final corner.
Russell Ingall is in. So was second. Mark Skaife still leads this race.
5 seconds gone in his stop already. Fresh tyres going on for Russell Ingall. Let's see how they go. 11 seconds for the Enforcer.
This is interesting stuff. We're going to have to watch Mark Skaife's lap times now and see if he's going to get an advantage out of staying out there. 57.7.
Limiter up.
Lap 3 or up to lap 7. We'll just check his lap times now.
Yeah, Garth Tander for a pit stop. Hasn't this team been really struggling here this weekend after such a promising fast-paced run recently? But this team needs to do a lot of work again to get the suspension back on track.
You heard him say turn the limiter off, that so they can get out of it, because when they come in they turn the limiter on, and they were making them try and make the exit with the limiter on.
Yeah, and it was very difficult. The cars were sneezing and they weren't accepting a high throttle percentage. So now you can switch it off as David Bernard wanders back to the Stone Brothers pit. You can switch it off to launch the car, but you've got to activate it at sufficient time, because it's very easy to go beyond 40 k's in these cars.
The revised order is Skaife, Richards, Bargwanna, Tratt and Jones. The second Shell Helix Ford is in the pit lane now. Steve Johnson has already made his stop. This is Paul Radicic.
Comes Craig Lowndes, car 00. Held him out there for a while as well. 8 laps completed. Into 9 now of the 36 lapper. Skaife just did a 58. Neat. He's still leading this one. He's going to be trying to maximise his track position here. Try and get as much gap as he can over his pursuers before he comes in for that tyre change.
That was a fairly impressive stop too from the Gibson Motorsport team. That was very nice stuff.
I think he's done the fastest lap of the race so far, a 7.6 for Craig Lowndes, but still very deeply buried in the pack.
Skaife's just on a 58.4, and the critical thing here will be to see how fast Murphy and Ambrose are going, because they're the first of the cars to make their pit stops. They're back in 7th on the track, but effectively the race leaders if Skaife gets overlapped here.
Garth Tander and Paul Radicic side by side of the Cougar back straight. But it is Skaife who currently leads the way. Tander is back in 16th position after his stop. Bargwanna yet to pit. The Shell Helix race score gives you that revised order. Bargwanna third. Tratt Jones is up into the top 5. And Murphy and Marcus Ambrose, those first two to make their stops, 7th and 8th at the moment. Wills in the Cat Ford in 10 behind Russell Ingall. More on your home of motorsport after this. Welcome back. Mark Skaife is right on the back of Stephen Johnson, powering on lap 11 of 36, and Skaife, the back-to-back champion, is yet to pit.
Yeah, this is a bit of a gamble by the Holden Racing team. He's clearly trying to maximise his tyre life by getting out in the front here, clear bit of track, and trying to open a gap over Murphy. But just look at the lap times. Last time around is certainly not working for him. So Skaife really needs some very quick laps here if it's going to pay off. Here he comes now. So he's obviously had discussion with his team.
Watch your throttle.
The speed that he wanted wasn't there. So now he's coming in to go into his second set.
Bargwanna has had his service and is on his way. It's a critical stop for Mark Skaife.
Pressure on as far as the pit stop. No pressure on anymore on Skaife as far as the championship is concerned. 2000 and 2001 Shell Series champ.
Greg Murphy is up to third now on the track. It's going to be interesting to watch the overlap.
Yeah, this is going to have to be slick if he's to maintain that advantage. Takes 40 seconds to go down pit lane, 10 to do this stop, roughly. That's what we're looking for. That's equal 50 seconds. It's almost a lap. You make a mistake here, and it's easily, you can go a lap down.
Okay, this is the critical time. We're watching for Greg Murphy. See if we get an overlap here. Murphy's coming onto the pit straight now, and you can see there's your race leader.
He's got him.
And Ambrose has as well.
And Ambrose, yeah.
Skaife back to full
maybe,
speed. I don't think Marcus has got
yes. Oh, yes, he has, just.
So Skaife drops back to third. He's on cold tyres. Ambrose is on hot ones. So, interesting strategy by the Holden Racing team. Not to pit when the race leader came in, but they've pretty much ended up with the same result.
Top 3 in the race, and top 3 from yesterday's race 1. Skaife now begins the chase after Marcus Ambrose. But what about Greg Murphy's form this weekend? Fastest in qualifying. Pole position, race 1 victory, and now leads well in race 2.
This could still pay off handsomely for Mark Skaife, though, because he's got fresher tyres than the 2 cars in front of him. And come the end of this race, that could be the difference between victory and defeat.
Well, there's plenty of claps and cheers down here at Stone Brothers Racing when Marcus Ambrose held that position as they came down the front straight there at the end of Mark Skaife's pit stop. Unfortunately for you, David Bernard, that's tinged with a bit of sadness. What's happened?
It looks like we've done a fairly inexpensive part on the car, a crank trigger sensor which distributes the spark, and without that you got no spark. So it's one of those things. It's been that sort of a year. We've had some good pace here this weekend, and in the warm-up we adjusted the car and really got it to where I wanted it. Quite quick on a full tank of fuel, and was looking forward to a good race, and it started well, and all of a sudden pop and bang and missed and didn't quite get into the pit lane. So that's it for us.
Hope you get the spark back for race 3.
Try to.
Traffic's now coming into play. Simon Wills is in between Greg Murphy and Marcus Ambrose, and look at Mark Skaife starting to zero in on the back of Marcus Ambrose now.
Oh, and Mark's tyres will be optimised at the moment, and he looks up the inside. Dirty road here, though, so it's very difficult.
Oh, dear me, that was... So a little tap there.
Marcus Ambrose clearly looking at his mirrors. The conservative line into Holden hairpin. Mark Skaife's got the lights on. Maximum intimidation from the Shell champion.
And that's probably about the only spot where Mark's going to be able to have a clean shot at him as well. It'll be very difficult to pull off a passing move anywhere else. And he's got to, if he can do it, he's got to do it while these tyres are relatively cool and young and just coming up to optimum pressure. And remember, at the point that Mark made, they are younger than the tyres on the 2 cars in front.
John Faulkner leads the race on the Shell Helix race score, but has not pitted as yet. And the blue box, just reminding you on your updated positions at the bottom of the screen, the blue box indicates that they have done that compulsory pit stop. But this is the battle we're watching, Ambrose versus Skaife.
Let's just take a look at how quick and how sparse these pit stops are now being done these days. Initially, a 13 was a good time. Now it seems Greg Murphy can't do anything wrong. A 9.4 second pit stop. Ambrose with a 9.5. Skaife, not so flash, with 11.5.
Oh, look at this.
Look at that. That was a good move.
He's got good drive out of that corner. They're almost side by side. Skaife has to back off a fraction as Ambrose got good track position on the inside.
The reason Mark's trying to do that is if he can pull it off by getting round the outside of him, he then has track position for turn 6, but it's a very risky move unless the other guy gives you some degree of cooperation. That's unlikely at the moment.
Bit of a case here of the master and the apprentice, but Marcus Ambrose is holding his end up, that's for sure, in the Pertec Ford. Top place Ford in second in the race at the moment, and Skaife really applying the blowtorch. Heard a big squeal there of brakes. Whether someone's gone off or not, doesn't look like it.
Look who's lurking around behind Simon Wills, Lee. Russell Ingall starting to come back into the battle as well. He's made his compulsory tyre stop, so he might climb onto the back of the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Look at this, big attack down the inside, 265 kilometres an hour. He's got the nose of the Commodore there. Ambrose opens the door wide up and allows Skaife an easy entry through under brakes into the Holden hairpin.
Stop go for Todd Kelly.
Looked a bit easy there. Why would he have opened the door that wide?
Notice that Morris is off to the left there. Often you know when you're demonstrably slower, and often it's better to yield and hold a good solid position than to hang on and end up getting shoved into the paddock, and there's always that risk in this racing. And you know, Mark's got huge pace at the moment, and Marcus is a bright racer, he knows that.
Last lap around, Ambrose did a 58.9, Skaife a 58.1, so it just goes to show when he got in front of the Pertec Ford how much time he picked up. Expect him to pump it out now and start to close in on the leader.
An unscheduled stop here at Pukekohe can absolutely kill you. Have a look at this tyre and that gigantic flat spot. This is off Stephen Richards' FTR Falcon. He came in to change the front right just moments ago and is now back out on track.
Another impressive run in race 2 from Tony Longhurst, is currently 6th outright. Started the race in the top 10, started 6th and has maintained that position.
When you think, Neil, if Skaife's tyres are like 8 laps younger at the end of the race, the last sort of 5 or 6 laps of the race, that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I think his strategy's actually been the one that is pretty smart. Oh, look at, see, Mark has got a lot of oversteer. Left rear tyre on that car is not too comfortable at the moment. It's very, very hard on the left rear tyre around here. And because race 1 didn't run its full distance in dry conditions, if anything, some of the data readings on tyre wear and the car behaviour on the tyres are a little bit polluted. The other reason that Marcus is probably likely to have yielded, he knows that he was a little weaker, is that you can't run the other guy all over the paddock this early in the race. We've only completed 16 laps, and the clerk of course takes a pretty dim view when you start to run people around the paddock early in the event.
It's going to be an interesting battle between the two TWR Australia Commodore teams, Kmart Racing and Holden Racing Team, both operating out of the same industrial park in Melbourne. And the two cars borrow a lot of hardware and technology, share a lot of technology. And these two really have been the class act at Pukekohe this weekend. Look at Skaife trying to close the gap. He did a 58.2 for Murphy last time, a 57.9 for Skaife, so he's continuing to attack. 1.1 seconds was the gap last time. It's down to 0.6. So Skaife continuing to close the gap. Well, look at the champion. Hard at work here at the wheel of car 1.
Todd Kelly continues his way around the circuit. He's yet to come in for that stop-go penalty. I can tell you it's for a pit lane infringement. Now, from memory...
You're watching the Shell Championship Series from Pukekohe. This is Todd Kelly in the 15 Kmart Commodore performing his stop-go penalty for an infringement in pit lane, and that has hurt his chances in race 2. He was well placed nicely inside the top 10.
Yeah, he was kept waiting quite a long time. It wasn't just like a quick instant.
He locked up his brakes coming up toward the line. The official there just wanted to make sure that he was well and truly stopped.
Didn't get the instant lollipop.
So the order: Murphy, Skaife, Ambrose still in 3rd, Russell Engel in 4th, Tony Longhurst an excellent 5th in the Rod Nash Commodore, Stephen Johnson in 6th, Garth Tanner in 7th. And as you can see, Skaife has just monstered that lead of Greg Murphy. So this strategy has paid off so far. Fresher rubber could be making the difference here.
The officials have slapped the wrist of Jason Richards, Team Kiwi driver as well, curb hopping. He's had a stop-go penalty as well.
Down toward Holden hairpin, 265 kilometres an hour. Two TWR Australia Commodores locked in battle as they come up towards some traffic. Speaking of locking up, you can see Skaife's right front wheel just locked momentarily there as the car gets weighted over to the left side. So you can see he's absolutely on the limit, using everything he's got to try and close the gap to Greg Murphy. It's been very effective so far. Murphy have his mirrors full as they come onto the straight once again.
Well, the other battle to watch too is further back between Ambrose and Engel. Engel is fighting for a podium spot. From half a second down to 0.3 of a second, there's nothing in it. Greg Murphy knows he has a race on his hands now, and Skaife, despite the fact that he's won the championship, still wants to keep winning races.
Skaife's done a 58.3, Murphy a 58.5, so the champion's found 2/10 on him there.
And the last time through, Murphy was very ragged on the exit of turn 7, coming back onto the front straight. So he's and Greg wants radio silence. He's concentrating. He doesn't want the information. He knows the scenario at the moment, so it's just get out of my ears, guys.
Still got a long way to go too. 21 of 36 has a long way to go at this maximum pressure driving amongst these leaders. Murphy, Skaife, Ambrose has been left 3 seconds now behind these two battling Commodores.
Neil, when you're really at it, like as Murph is, if with someone bashing in your ears all the time, it's at the wrong time. It's
yeah, well, you do exactly what Greg just said.
Yeah.
Get off.
You can hear the New Zealand crowd cheering on Greg Murphy. He is so popular around this place, the hometown boy from Hastings on Hawke's Bay.
Well, he's got a fantastic following in Australia as well, the Murph.
Yeah,
really.
Tremendous character. One of the stars of V8 Supercar racing, no doubt about it, as is this man, Russell Engel, who's back in 4th place, trying to close the gap to Marcus Ambrose. He's about 13 seconds behind the battle for the lead.
Someone we haven't spoken about yet in this race is the Data Ford of Rodney Forbes. He's running an 11th outright. That's quite a good performance. Just ahead of Paul Wheel, Jason Bargwanna, Seaton and Jones in the top 15. But this is where the action's at.
And what about Tony Longhurst? I mean, that's an amazing drive. Up to 5th in the Rod Nash Racing Commodore. Really on a high after that victory with Skaife at the V8 Supercar 1000 at Mount Panorama. It certainly translated to New Zealand. Excellent stop by the Rod Nash team. Longhurst in 5th.
At the start of race 1, there were some real concerns from some teams as to whether they would have enough rubber to go 3 races because of the excessive wheel spin out of these slow corners and coming onto the straight. Now we've had a look at the tyre rubber now, and because of yesterday, or the race 1 was wet, there is now enough rubber to go on. There's no reason for any of these teams to hold back. It's a sprint right through today's races.
7 Holdens, 3 Fords in the top 10, and it's Holden up front. Murphy versus Skaife. And it's an intriguing battle. Someone who has made an enormous amount of ground in this second race, as well as Craig Lowndes from 24th. We imagine he's around about 10th, and I say we imagine because he's having transponder problems, and it's not showing up on our timing monitor here, but our statistician, Nigel Greenway's checking it out the mirror, out of the window of the commentary box. We suspect he's around that 10th position. So if that's right, Lowndes has made up something like 14 places.
Replay here down at Holden Hairpin. Jason Bright tacking under brakes the Shell Ford. And nice clean move too. That was for 6th. Stephen Johnson goes down a peg.
I don't think Jason can afford to have his legs slapped anymore.
Fantastic battle this. It's been on since that compulsory tyre change. Skaife coming blasting out of the pits, closing the gap to Murphy, but now he's actually hit a bit of a brick wall because Murphy's responded. So they're just trading lap times, lap after lap. Murphy and Skaife just looking for the slightest error. This is real performance driving here.
2/3 race distance now, and they're starting to settle into their positions. But the pressure will not be relieved on Greg Murphy. Skaife is going to take it all the way to lap 36, that's for sure.
And I just wonder, that strategy by Holden Racing Team by getting Skaife to come in 8 laps later than Murphy, whether that slightly fresher rubber, Neil, will make the difference toward the end of the race.
By now, they'll probably not have an awful lot of difference between them. There's certainly a point in the life of the tyre early on where you've probably got an advantage. It looks to me like Mark has a tiny advantage at the moment, but not the one that he enjoyed when he initially went out. Murph's maybe got enough here at the moment because you know, the old motor racing cliche, it's all right to catch, but he has to be able to figure out a way to get by, and I don't reckon that in front of 30-odd thousand locals who are screaming his name, Murph's going to just say, no, look after you, I'd love you to have the corner.
Yeah, should be an interesting finish. Both lights on as they weave their way through the slower traffic.
The Kmart Racing Team have got their fingers crossed down here at the moment. I said, has Greg radioed in any problems with that left rear tyre? The word was, not yet, let's hope so.
Great performance in race 2 by the Rat, Paul Radisich, one of 7 Kiwis at this weekend's 12th round of the championship. And Radisich has come, here he is, from 17th to 9th. And if anyone knows this Pukekohe circuit, Paul certainly does. He's pushing up hard on the back. That's Garth Tander immediately in front. Tander's had an improved round as well after qualifying high teens. He's broken into the top 10 and maintained that position.
Yeah, it looks like Russell's dropped back a bit from Ambrose now. He was, what was he, 0.2 a second slower that lap.
Yeah, it's good to see the Shell Fords a bit better. They must have done their homework overnight. Certainly a bit more competitive today than they were yesterday. Radisich finished up 18th, but he's obviously got good speed and good pit strategy to climb his way into the top 10. Great shot here from the front of Paul Radisich's Shell 18 Ford right down on the road surface as he tries to close and pass Garth Tander. Stephen Johnson just ahead of him. Jason Bright in the top 6.
Certainly doesn't look like the Murph's struggling to stay in front of Mark Skaife now, does it?
No, he's edged that gap out 3 4/10 of a second. We've got 10 laps remaining here at Pukekohe. The first time an international event has counted towards the Shell Championship Series. And if you've just joined us, whether on Network 10 or TV1 or Speed Vision, wherever you're watching the telecast, the championship is over. Skaife has won it. He is back-to-back champions, but there's still plenty of racing to go in 2001.
The other thing that's likely to have happened here is that Mark has probably had to use a little bit more of the car, a little bit more of the tyre than he would have liked to when he had that cooler tyre, younger tyre opportunity. And, you know, he had a few shots at it, but couldn't quite get there. And that probably tends to hurt you a little bit later on as well.
Anthony Tratt there, right in the middle of the main mix. Murphy leads the way. That's just Shell Helix race score. Ambrose has been able to maintain that third position, and Tony Longhurst has worked his way forward to fifth. That's impressive stuff.
Paul Radisich and Stephen Ellery round out the top 10. Wheels just biting at the back of those guys. Rodney Forbes, Glenn Seaton, Brad Jones and Mark Larkin.
The competitors a little further back. Simon Wills is doing it tough in 22nd. 2 of 3 here at Pukekohe, and what a contrast in weather conditions to the first one, guys.
It's amazing how quick it changes here. I mean, quite incredible.
Just goes to show what a great equaliser the rain is too. You know, Jason Richards, Team Kiwi, did a brilliant job in those wet conditions to leapfrog their way up the field. Now we're in dry, hard running. You can see that they are struggling for pace. A little bit further down the order now. 23rd and 24th, the two Team Kiwi cars running bumper to bumper.
It's obviously someone that's a little bit stage
That's
fright.
Monique. That's Monique, Greg Murphy's partner. Big case of stage fright.
Yeah,
she's impressed with what her man's doing, and it's been a very, very impressive run from Greg Murphy.
He's happier than he's been in a long time, Greg Murphy. So happy to be back within the TWR fold, and why wouldn't he? This car, this team working brilliantly. Rob Crawford, Eric Pender, his data acquisition man. There's obviously a very good synergy going on within that team, because this Kmart racing operation, very potent, and really the only ones able to consistently match the Holden racing team in terms of their performance from track to track.
Well, quite often you see too with professional athletes, Mark, and whatever, things that happen away from the track or away from the sporting field in their personal life, and Greg's very happy that he and Monique just had their first child, Ronan, several months ago. He's a very, very proud and happy father, and is enjoying life as a parent.
Well, Ned will tell you as a racer, I mean, there's so much of it in your head. You come to a racetrack you happen to like, you like the place, like the people there, and it just makes a massive difference, doesn't it? It's just hard to explain.
Yeah, sometimes it just helps you get in that perfect rhythm. There are days when you ride a motorcycle or race a car, as we go on board with Marcus Ambrose, where it all just seems to fit, and there are other days where you just can't get the bits to all line up. One interesting move is that Jason Bright has moved up to 6th now ahead of Tony Longhurst. They're all chasing this man, Marcus Ambrose 3rd, and Skaife, I think now 0.8 behind last time through, just can't quite dig in any further, and I think we've probably got game, set, match there.
Well, he's fighting a lone hand here, Ambrose. He's 4.6 seconds behind Skaife in second, but there's Commodores all around him. Murphy and Skaife leading the race. Russell Ingall, Jason Bright, Tony Longhurst behind him. The next best place forward is Stephen Johnson in the Shell car. He's back in 7th.
You can see there that that's what 3 seconds looks like. He's got a nice buffer over Russell Ingall, and then back to Jason Bright. Simon Wills is a long way down the order after an impressive run. I think Russell Ingall might be in problems here. He's slowing right down, because he was not. He's cruising.
Yeah. I wonder if he's got that gearbox.
Jammed in gear again. Jammed in gear.
That problem, that persistent problem.
Can you believe that? It happened in the top 10 shootout, and now it struck him again, and you heard it from the man himself.
And it happened again a couple of years ago, didn't it? Did it twice in a row.
Gearbox jammed. There's the Castrol team.
Oh, what a... That's not good for him championship-wise, because Bright's the guy that's chasing him in the championship.
Well, Brighty wants a 1-2 for the Holden racing team, which is something they've never been able to achieve. And Russell is absolutely livid, as you'd imagine. Look at him trying to wrestle that gear stick around to try and pick up another gear, but it's no good.
From one man who's experiencing problems to someone who's had no problems. It's been an amazing run at Pukekohe this weekend. Skaife's right on him again, though. He's turned up the heat. He's taken 4/10 of a second or more in that last lap, and it's not over yet. 4 laps to go.
4 laps to run, still enough.
He's probably just showing that experience that Skaife has, Neil. He's probably just hung back for a few laps to let the tyres resuscitate and have one last lunge when the laps are running out.
Well, that's another possibility. He may have just decided that it was the wrong time to push.
The Lowndes transponder is working suddenly. He's in 11th position, so we weren't far off. And he should move into 10th, because Russell Ingall is slowly falling down that order.
I don't think the Skaife challenge is over yet, folks. Looked like he settled back into a comfortable rhythm there. But now he looks like one last assault. He's launching on the local hero. Squeezes down the inside of John Faulkner through turn 6, flings it right through turn 7.
That cost him time then.
It did.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Cost him a lot.
So time running out for Mark Skaife.
Went back out to 0.9.
4 laps remaining for a race leader, Greg Murphy, and he is in absolutely scintillating form this weekend, as he was here in 1996 with the Holden Racing team. Skaife now, you can see he got so close to Murphy there, but now he's lost a lot of time. You can see Ingle limping around, still in trouble with that Castrol car, just trying to pick as many points as he can, no doubt.
Shell Helix race score updating those positions at the bottom of your screen. And when you think back to 96, and Neil, you were here, part of that, as they call it, the Dirty Dozen, the 12 cars that came over. That really launched Greg Murphy's V8 supercar career. The next year he had the full-time drive in HRT when Lowndes went to Europe.
That's right, and he also put on a great show down in Wellington as well, so he's managing to repeat history here.
The word from the Castrol Perkins Racing team to Russell Ingle is hang out there, try and do as many laps as you can, salvage some points, as you mentioned, in this battle with Jason Bright for second.
Well, the worst he can finish is 30th, and he'll still pick up 6 points. 6 points is better than no points.
3 points remaining, 3 points, 3 laps remaining for our race leader, Greg Murphy. Russell Ingle.
I'll bet Russell's had a humour bypass right about.
Oh, I bet he has.
How frustrating. I mean, having that happen twice in the one race meeting at critical times.
There's something weird going on there, because it's the gearbox is one of the most reliable components on these cars.
He has had that before, the same thing, exactly the same thing yesterday, and I think it was last year or the year before.
And he's just crawling around this 2.8 kilometre Pukekohe circuit. They're telling him how many laps to go. Longhurst flashes by, currently 5th. That's an outstanding effort for the Rod Nash Racing team.
Look at how hard these two are pushing. Gee, these cars are getting driven to their absolute limit. Lap after lap after lap. Not only on their own, they've got to find their way through traffic.
He's coming up against Sod Kelly's just in front there, so maybe...
This is a great pressure motor race between two top racers. Yeah. I mean, not only is... you know, they're a great battle between these two guys. There's traffic to deal with. There have been slightly different pit and tyre strategies. A very interesting motor race, and there's only 0.6 of a second after 34 laps of racing. That's pretty special.
We're inside 2 laps from home, and there is Jason Bright, who's surging on. It's been a very good run from him. He's up to 4th now after starting a little further back.
So Murphy, Skaife, Ambrose now 5.6 seconds behind that leading pair. Jason Bright, we're watching now, he's 4th. Tony Longhurst still an excellent 5th. Can't say enough about the Rod Nash team to get him up that high. Stephen Johnson, Garth Tander, Paul Radicic, Stephen Ellery, and Craig Lowndes now is in the top 10.
Going around to get that last lap indicator. And Greg Murphy will have just 2.8 kilometres to run before he gets one step closer to the clean sweep here at Pukekohe. Can he hang on, or can Skaife bridge that gap and get past Murphy?
Some lap traffic coming up here, less than 2.8 kilometres remaining. Now he's got his teammate Todd Kelly in front as they come under brakes into turns 2, 3, 4, onto the final straight for the final time out of the Boost Mobile corner. So Murphy looks like he's got Skaife well and truly covered as they come up the straight for the final time. Interesting gamble by the Holden Racing team, and certainly at one stage there, 10 laps ago, it looked like it was going to pay off, but Murphy has been able to answer the challenge.
If they were fighting anybody but themselves, it probably would have worked.
Yeah,
exactly.
Todd Kelly, 1 Kmart Commodore, the 2nd there, and there's a big difference in where they are on the track in terms of placings. Greg Murphy is bringing it home. The final lap, it's been quickest in qualifying, pole position after the shootout. Race 1 victory, race 2 victory. Greg Murphy has done it again on home soil. The Kiwi brings the crowd to its feet. Stunning stuff from Murphy. Skaife 2nd, and Marcus Ambrose, the top place Ford in 3rd. But the weekend is going to plan. Greg Murphy can do no wrong.
This is a fairy tale weekend for the Murph. 29 years of age, Kiwi in front of his home crowd, and they absolutely love it. There's Rob Crawford, Kmart team manager, and they're doing a great job this weekend. Everyone was too.
And we looked down the order, and it was a stunning drive by another Holden man, Jason Bright, from 20th on the grid to 4th. That is something special. Lowndes, who was way back in 24th, made up 14 positions to finish 10th, and Seaton halved his starting position from 30th to 14th. So there were some pretty big movers in race 2, but that's your man, the main man this weekend at Pukekohe, Greg Murphy.
Guys, I can tell you that win for Greg Murphy didn't come without some dramas. About 6 laps from home, he inadvertently hit the pit speed limiter button, and that allowed Skaife to close the gap.
Well, we thought it might have been the tyre life making a big factor there, but apparently Murph a bit keen to head into the pits.
I reckon they'll change that for the third race. Relocate that switch.
It'd take you maybe a little bit, if he didn't actually notice that he'd hit it, it'd take you a little millisecond to think, what the...
Yeah, I've done it, and you think, whoop.
Oopsie-daisy.
Well, you got to say, if you can't beat them, join them. And that's certainly been the strategy of Kmart Racing in 2001.
Look at that. Look at that crowd. Incredible.
TWR Australia operation, head and shoulders above the other teams in terms of their consistency of performance. Absolutely incredible. Now there's 4 of them on the track.
We're yet to get an official crowd figure, but we understand somewhere between 30 and 40,000.
It's a lot.
And they are all cheering their man on, Greg Murphy. Plenty of Holden support in the crowd as well.
Absolutely incredible scene there. Absolute capacity at Pukekohe Raceway. Kiwis love their V8 supercar racing. They love it even more when one of their boys is winning. And Greg Murphy is really turning it on for the home crowd today. Perfect record still intact at Pukekohe. And Greg Murphy has not been beaten in a V8 supercar on home soil.
So good for the sport, though, isn't it? I mean, when you get somebody whose country it is and they don't ever have any races there, it's so nice, isn't it?
Look at that. Incredible crowd. Let's check it out on the Shell Helix race score. Greg Murphy, the winner, just 0.7 of a second in it at the end over Mark Skaife. Marcus Ambrose, best of the Fords. Jason Bright, Tony Longhurst, excellent 5th spot. Steve Johnson, Garth Tander, and Paul Radisich.
Ellery was able to remain in the top 10. Lowndes, an outstanding drive, making up 14 places. Paul Wheel just outside the top 10, another good result. Barguana slipped a couple. Forbes, strong run, so too Seaton. Jones and Larkham in the top 16. Perkins 17. Todd Kelly will be frustrated after that stop-go penalty. Faulkner led for a while, but dropped after the compulsory pit stops. And Jason Richards from 4th to 23rd. Stephen Richards had a little bad luck, and McConville a tough run as well.
Well, you would not believe the eruption from the crowd here down on the main straight at Pukekohe. Greg Murphy, what a great run.
Whew, take a breath. It's awesome, absolutely awesome. I've sort of run out of new things to say because there really is this crowd's fantastic. What a day! I'm just having the time of my life.
Now you had some dramas towards the end there too, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually tripped the speed limiter button down at the chicane down there, and the thing just stopped. It had no throttle and it got real loose. And I got it turned off, and off we went again. So Skaife got a bit close there for a minute, but it was a bit of a hard attack.
Good luck at making it a clean sweep.
That's the plan, and with these guys, hopefully we can.
Good on you.
Thanks a lot. Marcus Ambrose, you've never taken a race win. I thought this one might have been it.
Don't bring it up, please.
Talk us through the start.
Yeah, start was okay. Got off the line, held spot. I have a lot of trouble starting this car for some reason. It's the first car I've never been able to get off the line, but I think over the Christmas break we'll work on that and try and sort it out for next year. But early on, you know, pressed as hard as I could, but just couldn't quite match those two HRT cars.
We saw you launch on the warm-up. You were eager to get away.
Yeah, the red light went off on the start light, and I thought, oh, well, that's what they're using, you know, because I normally only go when I see the other cars go, and I didn't quite know what's going on there, but I rectified it. So
I think you'll be getting a little bit more used to the front row a little bit shortly. But to the Ford itself, you said you're struggling with understeer. This seems to be a common problem with the Fords around here.
Yeah, we just haven't quite hit it. That's all. You know, I don't think there's anything difference between Holden and Ford, although the Holden guys have got their cars sorted out earlier than we have, and you know, we're working on it. It's getting better all weekend, and no excuses. You know, we got to get the car better, and hopefully in race 3 we'll be able to press on and give them a real hard charge.
Times are equal to those in front of you. What about rubber?
Yeah, we burned a few up then. Really the left front there was with the understeer, so we sort that out. We'll be right.
One to go, Marcus.
Yeah, one to go. Maybe I'll get a win today, eh?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, 4th place, and it was a pretty dramatic race 1, but race 2 you've done exceptionally well. Jason Bright, congratulations.
Yeah, mate, there's no more Ford stickers down the side, so yeah, we did it nice and clean, and you know, the car's just fantastic this weekend. The guys did a fantastic pit stop, and you know, the in-lap, out-lap was good, so you know, we were able to get a few guys in the pits, but we also had to pass a few of those guys, and they weren't giving us any room either.
Mark took a bit of a gamble on the pit strategy, or the team at least did. You seem to stick to the earlier plan?
I noticed that Mark was out long. I didn't know what was going on. I thought that they would have been in really early, and you know, I didn't know sort of what happened. I didn't know whether they had to stop go or what. So yeah, we sort of planned on staying out long. We had a lot of positions to make up after starting 20th, and you know, we wanted to get back in the top 10, so as we were still with a shot for second going into Sandown, and you know, we managed to do that and we ended up fourth, so yeah, better than we could expect.
Balance on the car looks exceptional. There was one point there you overtook, I think, Stephen Johnson deep under brakes, and the car looked very comfortable.
The car's been great all weekend. You know, we sort of lost a little bit in qualifying, and you know, we're very disappointed to be 8th. You know, we were quickest in practice, first time here, so you know, we wanted to sort of get out there in that race and prove that we could race clean and had the pace, and you know, I think we did that.
The left rear tyre looking all right?
Oh, it was struggling, but you know, trying to pass cars works the left rear tyre harder than anything, and you know, I'm not surprised that it's, you know, pretty tired, but you know, it wasn't any more tired than what the first race was. So you know, I think even though we were pushing it harder, we were still looking pretty good in hotter temperatures.
I think the third and final race is going to be a bit of a battle, isn't it?
Should be. They've got three TWR cars up there, and you know, hopefully we can crack it for a win for Holden Racing Team, and you know, try and get a trophy back to Australia rather than leaving it here.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Greg.
Impressive stuff from Jason Bright, wasn't it, guys? 20th to 4th. That's no mean feat.
Remarkable performance. Claw his way back into the top 5. We've seen Bright do that all throughout the year, though. If he hasn't had a good qualifying, and he hasn't had very strong qualifying throughout this series, and his first year with Holden Racing Team, he always seems to manage to claw his way back toward the top end by the finish.
He had a rough old day yesterday. He got 5 forwards in one fell swoop.
Greg Murphy for the clean sweep, Mark, yes?
Oh, gee, you'd have to have your money on him, wouldn't you? But that was
really. Even I'd bet on him.
Neil, yes?
Depends on the pop of the clutch. In terms of car pace, no problem, but he has to have a good start to be able to do the job.
And that's all ahead of us today. Round 12 of the Shell Championship Series. Can Greg Murphy make it 3 from 3? We'll be back real soon.